welcome. First of all, just to repeat what the others said, we're really humbled and grateful that you've managed to come and show your enthusiasm for this cause. I just want to look back slightly at the journey that's been over for me at least the last 14 years and how that's evolved into our practice across New Zealand. And now we're at a really important stepping stone as we step forward collectively to change things, and we want to be organised on that. We've got David and Jen Unwin here from the UK, and those two have been driving a massive amount of change, and you'll see the organisation and levels of that, and we want to start to engage in that process. But 14 years ago, I was running a book at the time with All Black captain Buck Shelford, Buck Up, The Real Bloke's Guide to Men's Health, and I started to delve back into the nutrition literature, and it started to occur to me that all was not what it seemed as far as evidence was concerned. And because I like to try things myself, the first thing off the rank was the Dukan diet. I don't know if anyone's tried that. It's a high protein, low fat. It works really well. You whip off the weight, but in the Stefansson early Arctic explorer type thing, the lack of fat means that very quickly you start to experience a thing akin to what he called rabbit starvation, and you don't feel quite so good anymore. And it evolved with my work in the remote South Pacific, and I guess the anthropological evidence there is startling that in the urban developed Pacific, diabetes is rampant, and Kiribati would probably be the worst one of the lot, 50% diabetes in the adult population. The dual burden of disease of malnourished children and obese adults, and in a population of 40,000, 25 amputations a month from the complications. And you compare that with outer subsistence island living, where people are still fit, healthy. The idea of heart disease, cancer, dementia is non-existent, and although there's still problems with health and healthcare delivery, those are more around infection, accident, childbirth, and those sorts of things. And mostly in adulthood, you suffer what's called an idiopathic death, which is you're fine, you're living your best life up until a week or two before you die, and you die from unknown causes. And you look at the diets there, and you're walking around with the World Health Organization guidelines of eating less fat, more grains, and you notice that those aren't a feature of their diet. You couple that with the physiology we do in this fantastic facility, especially around metabolism and fuel utilization, both at rest and exercising, in both athletes and people with type 2 diabetes, and you understand the importance of insulin and insulinemia, how glycemia, hyperglycemia, and its translation into long-term sticky blood is a primary cause for all metabolic things. And then you start to think about how we might change the diet, and that led us on this What the Fat journey, our whole research and practice team, and my great fortune to meet and engage with Glenn Davis, Marcus Hawkins, Olivia Curry, Lily Fraser over those years. And Karen and I's team has grown, and then this idea of health coaching, which has really been a revelation, especially when you're trained in psychology, of changing the way that we deliver medicine to be health-centric and person-centric and focused on meeting people where they're at, and supporting them through good times and bad, because relapse is normal. This idea that we live in this pathological world that we have to negotiate, especially food-wise, has become a thing. So the most convincing and interesting thing to me is this meta-analysis of 50 randomized trials where they look at the composition of the carbohydrate composition of the diet, and they do that by outcomes here, in this case, the glycated hemoglobin. And so if you just go forward, and you see to the left here we've got the sort of low-fat food pyramid type recommendations, and then we move into the middle, we've got the Mediterranean type things, and we start to go low carb, and we start to get ketogenic, and I think those results are really convincing. The more you restrict dietary carbohydrate, and this makes sense, of course, on first principles, doesn't it? If you've got a problem controlling the sugar in your blood, then maybe you should eat less of it, and that turns out to be a powerful thing. Just push again. That was my animation. Woohoo. But we're still focused in delivering nutrition information and behaviour change in that area. I think we can do better. Carry on. And the good news is also that the metabolic markers show a similar dose response, and even the ones that we get concerned about, your LDL, don't show that negative effect that we have been criticised for so long. So I think that's a good news story. These are safe and effective interventions. New Zealand's really started to lead the way with this idea of the health coach in a newer model because of our workforce is changing. But it's become obvious that good practice and good information are no longer enough. We can wait with the 40 years for the half-life of new medical information to filter its way through and change practice, or we can take a more proactive strategy. And that's what today's about. You're going to hear from some wonderful experts. You're going to have some beautiful and productive ideas yourself. And we want to bring those together to think about what we're going to do across this country to fundamentally change what we do, especially in primary care, especially around diabetes, but this will be all of chronic disease. So, kia ora tātou, welcome, thank you for coming, and that's me.